Good evening. Welcome to the Township of Kalamazoo regular meeting for April 8, 2024 at 7:30. And our first thing is to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I ask Trustee Robinson to lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any additions and deletions? And there is a addition for us to go ahead, and we've added on to a 9C is for jurisdiction justice court. I don't know what I'm saying. Kalamazoo County, Kalamazoo. We've got a thing from the attorney. You want to tell us what it is?
We need to excuse Mark.
1100 Foster to go ahead and make us whole for the money, and we'll bring that up under 9C.
We need to excuse Mark. We need to excuse Mark.
Yeah, I'm going to do that too. And then I'm sorry, I missed the one ahead of that. We've got one board member absent. Trustee Miller is absent. Do I have I'll make a motion to excuse.
Support.
Support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Robinson. I got one ahead of myself there. Okay, the next thing is for public comment. You have 3 minutes. Please come to the podium. Give us your name and where you live.
Mike Seals, 3743 Gull Road. I wanted to say thank you to the board for allowing us to comment during Road Commissioner's report, or the Road Commission's report, because I felt it was important that they hear from us some of the things that are going through our heads about what's happening in the township. And I really appreciated you allowing us to be able to speak to the representative directly while we had your work session. I know we took up a little bit of time, but I'm glad that you let us say something. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, please?
Evening, everybody. David Combs, 2316 Brook Drive, and I'm sorry to make this comment, having missed most of the Road Commission's presentation. This is partially for them, partially for you all, but I actually want to elevate Brook Drive, specifically, the larger section in the township that runs between Gull and Mount Olivet, where I live. Several of my neighbors and I my neighbors asked me, and I'm here, to raise the issue of speed on that road. While condition-wise, and it's reflected in the Commission's report, Brook Drive is fantastic. It's not only well-maintained, it's well-lit as well, and kept very clean as an artery between those two main roads. We've noticed, and my neighbors, especially the longer tenured ones, have noticed that despite the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, folks are regularly exceeding 50 miles an hour on that road and actually using it as sort of a fun, to use a poor term there, opportunity to do some racing, motorcycle racing, things like that. So I'll bring this up with the Road Commission, but we've noticed it's actually hard to enforce the speed limit on that stretch because despite being an artery, houses are closely packed together and it's really structured as a neighborhood. And so the ask that I've heard keep coming up is for speed bumps on that road. Again, really a question for the Road Commission, but I'd appreciate any advocacy for that you all have in your interactions with the Road Commission as well. And then just quickly, while I'm up here, I got to listen into the Zoom on my way in, and I really appreciate the note that you raised, Supervisor Martin, that we're coming up on I think almost 10 years of the $10 million investment that was made along with the Road Commission in 2015, and chip sealing and other intermediary measures aren't going to work for very much longer, not to mention a $10 million investment, as you said, could become $30 million in the next year or two, if not more. And I just want to encourage you all to, yes, continue down that road of partnership that I think is so valuable for us to have, but also just bear in mind that we are the paying customer. We have some leverage there when the time comes to make a significant investment again. While I'm sure, won't be able to spend just $10 million again, let's leverage our position where we can in that partnership to get the best deal that we can, and hopefully not have to pay $30 million for the same level, quality, and quantity of work. Thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else, please? Okay, do we have anybody on Zoom? Ma'am?
Now is the time for anyone in Zoom if you'd like to speak to unmute yourself. I don't see anyone, Supervisor Martin.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we'll move down to the consent agenda. Clerk Mackey, you want to lead us on the consent agenda, please?
Yes, I move adoption of the consent agenda consisting of the approval of the minutes of the March 11th, 2024 work session, the minutes of the March 11th, 2024 Board of Trustees regular meeting, payment of the bills in the amount of $218,130.54 for March, payment of the bills in the amount of $30,970.17 for April. Additionally, receipt of the check disbursement report of March 2024, the check EFT register for March 2024, the treasurer report for March of 2024, and the CABA report of March and 2024.
Support.
Also, the treasurer's report was from February,
Okay.
not March, so let's
Okay.
make a clarification. And
Okay, very good. That was February, that were the receipts you had down wrong, correct? You said it was for February?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Everybody that's, have consent agenda has been approved. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we have no presentation. We have no old business, so we'll move right down to new business. And the first one is a request to approve the patrol vehicles purchase. Police Chief, thank you.
Moving so efficiently, I wanted to be prepared for you. So, as we discussed previously, moving towards purchasing patrol vehicles earlier than we would like to, but the market and the situation requires us to be a little more assertive. We're asking that you approve the purchase of 3 new patrol vehicles. We're foregoing the purchasing of administrative or investigative vehicles this year, partially due to the development of community policing unit to hopefully move those cars from the patrol fleet into the community policing unit fleet. We have a vendor who's able to provide us those, and we're asking the board approve $158,181 from the police capital budget to make that purchase.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? Do I have a motion from the board?
I will make a motion to approve the proposal regarding the purchase of 3 Chevy Tahoe vehicles for patrol operations through the state of Michigan contract with the financing cost of $158,181 from the police. Which one is that from, Chief?
Police capital.
Police capital.
Okay, there we go. Want to be clear. Thank you. Support.
Okay, got a motion made and supported to go ahead and approve the purchase of the 3 police vehicles for $158,181. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask one question because I like to keep in mind that not everybody is here for the work sessions. But what is the timeline for that? I know you mentioned it, but I just wanted to ask it again now.
Certainly, thank you. We believe we can acquire those vehicles quickly. They're in stock. Our delay is in the upfitting of those vehicles with our local upfitting vendor, which is McDonald's.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up. Any other questions?
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to speak as to the information that you included in our board packet. I appreciate the background information regarding why you're not recommending an electric vehicle, since we do have that purchasing policy, and it's it's very helpful that you've included your rationale for moving forward in this way. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, see nobody else. We got a motion on the floor. Been seconded to go ahead with the purchase of the police vehicles, and we'll start off with a roll call vote, and we'll start off with Trustee Glass.
Aye.
Trustee Ludi.
Aye.
Trustee Robinson.
Aye.
Clerk Mackey.
Aye.
Treasurer Miller.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Thank you. Okay, the next one is also yours, sir.
We're asking for approval from the board for demolition of 3701 East Main Street. This house has fallen into disrepair after a fire. The owner is no longer residing there. It's not tenable for residency and appears to be walking away from it in our discussions with them. This has made the property attractive to some people who have left some debris and have vandalized the property. It continues to be a nuisance. In addition to be a nuisance, we believe it's becoming hazardous. As we discussed, the process for this is very deliberate. The courts are very deliberate in this process to make sure that the government or the township is not moving too quickly, making sure people are well taken care of and their rights are being considered. This process has moved through the courts. This has been approved to form by the township attorney, and we're asking for approval for the expenditures of $29,000 to Bailey Excavating to make this occur.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I move to approve the proposal regarding the demolition of 3701 East Main Street at a cost not to exceed $29,000.
I'll support it. Okay, got a motion and support. Comments?
Who's the support?
We're gonna give it to her. You get that? We're going like this. Okay. Yes, there you go. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll call the vote. Go ahead to approve it, and we'll start off with Treasurer Miller.
Aye.
Clerk Mackey.
Aye.
Trustee Robinson.
Aye.
Trustee Ludi.
Aye.
Trustee Glass.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, a third one we add on here. I'll ask Trustee Robinson if she will read the third one here for us.
Would you like me to introduce it?
Yeah, you want to go ahead?
Sure. At our last meeting, you tasked me and some of the members of the total out-of-pocket costs and expenses for the prosecution of the Charter Township versus Erie routine case. That was at 1100 Foster. There were some buildings that had been built without permits in the floodplain. It took us quite a while to get through that whole issue. With respect to that, we did add up and itemize our costs. The amount was $8,002. I did transmit that over to the attorney for the defendants, and he accepted it. So at this point, what we're asking for is approval to accept the $8,002 as itemized, to allow me to sign the settlement release, and then to allow either the supervisor or the treasurer to sign off on the municipal lien, and which will effectively release the lien. I won't record that until we have money in hand.
Thank you. And I know I was going to, go ahead, Trustee Robinson.
Right, well, I'll make the motion to accept the settlement offer of $8,002 and to authorize the attorney to sign the settlement and authorize the treasurer or supervisor to sign release of the lien.
Support.
Okay, motion made and support. Any questions or comments? I know we talked about this. I think that you hit about right where we wanted to go in there, so thank you. Got a little more than we wanted to, and that's great. At least we covered our expenses, so. Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll call the question. We'll start off with Trustee Glass.
Aye.
Trustee Ludi.
Aye.
Trustee Robinson.
Aye.
Clerk Mackey.
Aye.
Treasurer Miller.
Aye.
And I'm aye. Thank you, folks. Okay, there are no other items removed, so we go down to board member comments, and we'll start off with Trustee Glass.
I have no report tonight.
Thank you. Trustee Ludi.
I want to just share, as Mike Seals had mentioned earlier, the Planning Commission met last Thursday here, and we took 3 actions that will be coming to the board. So I'm giving you a sneak preview of what maybe even the next meeting. And they included, the Planning Commission recommended approval of a rezoning request for multiple parcels that comprising 73 acres at 3006 Douglas. That's the northeast corner of Douglas and Mazel. And the request was to rezone it to I-1, Industrial 1, Light Industrial, and C2 Commercial Corridor. And the recommendation is, like I said, is expected to come to the board for consideration in the form of an ordinance for first reading at possibly the next meeting. And if approved by the board, the applicant anticipates developing 2 parts of that, logistics and warehousing operation on the 64 acres that make up more the northern portion. And for the southern portion that's closer to Mazel, that's about 9 acres, and that would be slated, if approved, for services and retail to complement the logistic and warehousing activities. Then the second item that we'll be seeing again as a board dealt with a proposed text amendment to our mobile home park, or manufactured housing, and their Integrated Services and Housing Resources, Inc., on behalf of Highland Hills, a manufacturing home park, requested a zoning text amendment to allow a setback reduction from 10 feet, which is a current rule under our zoning ordinance, from the edge of an internal road to 3 feet. And the requested 3 feet, we learned, would not even comply with the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, or LARA, their minimum requirements, and existing spacing conditions in the manufactured home parks. All but one of our mobile home parks currently complies with that already, and so that tight spacing presents public safety, health, and welfare concerns, because you can't get a fire truck through there to put out fires that might bounce from one trailer to the next trailer. So therefore, the Planning Commission supports denial and recommends the board approve the Planning Commission's denial at its next meeting. And then the last item that will be coming to us in the very near future is about the master plan. And the Planning Commission approved the 2024 master plan, and we'll forward it to the board for consideration. And so you'll get to see that more in detail, and there'll be a lot more information at our next meeting to consider. But finally, I wanted to mention that the Planning Commission received a copy of the draft Imagine Westwood report from the city of Kalamazoo. And it includes comments on both the city portion of Westwood and the much larger Kalamazoo Township portion. So it's we're just trying to wrap our heads around, what is the city doing a report about Kalamazoo Township for? And so we'll learn more details from the city at a subsequent Planning Commission meeting, and maybe eventually that information will come as a final product and then be available to the general public. The draft form is apparently available right now. I just heard about it because it was shared with the Planning Commission. So you may hear more.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, Clerk Mackey.
So I just wanted to share my experience with something I have never encountered, which is called the spongy moth. And it is an invasive species, and it has taken a home in my Japanese maple tree. So because I live in the township, and since I have this problem, there's a very good chance that other residents of Kalamazoo Township might also have this in their yards. So I really love this tree. It's 20 years old, and it means a lot to me. So I did a lot of research on how to mitigate the damage from this insect, and if it takes hold, they can just take out your trees, eat all the leaves, and kill your trees. So what I noticed was that there was some on the tree trunk there was egg sacs. They were kind of like a beigey color, about an inch in diameter. And so I got a closer look. I used like Google Lens or whatever that identifying app is, and I realized what I was looking at, and I did some research. So if anyone else discovers these egg sacs on their trees and you'd like to reach out to me, you can get a hold of me because I'm very concerned, and I did a lot of research. I found ways to wrap your tree to try to protect it as well. So I just wanted to get the word out.
Thank you. Trustee Robinson.
So I have got a couple of things. One, just a reminder to residents that curbside pickup is this week. I'm sure everybody can see it, but just a reminder, if anybody hasn't noticed that your neighbors and people have items out all over the township, that this is the week for that. And then the PAC committee, we have met 2 times. We met on the 28th of March, and then we also met again on the 1st of April. So I just want to bring an update. On the 28th of March, we met with all 3 of the board members as well as the 2 chiefs. And in that meeting, we discussed processes and different things that we were planning to do as far as the initial interviews, the weeding down process. For anybody that doesn't know, it was 106 applications, if I'm correct, that came in during that time frame. We put together an Excel spreadsheet, what Trustee Miller basically did, and we used that, and we had different folders as we received applications throughout the days. And we used those, and we broke down based off of the folders and put people in different categories based off of the criteria that we asked for, with checking it against our spreadsheet as to what they had in order to be able to narrow it down. I do want to say that during that meeting, both chiefs declined being in the interview process due to the conflict that would be there, as that person would end up being their boss. But they did give insight, and especially Chief Ergang, I'm going to throw you right on under the bus. But as his HR background, he did give a lot of insight as to the process when it came to those initial interviews, things that we should bring to the table and ask, and things that we should leave off. Ultimately, in the end, on April 1st, we brought 4 people to the table and spent an entire day doing interviews. Every applicant was asked the exact same 10 questions in the exact same order. And those questions were a combination of soft and hard questions. The questions were a combination of 5 of them came from a list that actually Trustee Glass had put together in a packet that she had did for us to consider. So we used those questions as well as other general knowledge questions specific to certain aspects of different jobs, which were more yes and no. So I just want to put that out there. We also then consulted, because I need people to keep in mind that the first process, because the last manager was the first manager, and so that was a process that a lot of us were not a part of. So just to get some general background as to how that went, so did reach out to Attorney Siebert to get some information as to how that went, and learned some very interesting information. For me, one of the biggest pieces was that it was, his was held on a Saturday, and I think that is major for a lot of reasons. Number one, that is when the majority of your residents are not at work. And so I think that brings forth more participation for those that want to be a part of that process in order to see that. So I found that to be very interesting. We also have got some other questions out there as to next steps, if we want it to be more of a presentation to the board with a mix of questions as well, and how that is going to look. So I will say that right now we are in wait mode as we try and figure that out before we bring anybody forward at all at this point, because we still need Trustee Miller, which helps to make up the pack, and he is now gone. So when he returns, we will get back at it and do some more work. In the meantime, we've got questions for the attorneys and those things that we want to get answered so that we can follow a process and make sure that we're staying in line with protected classes and all of the different things, so we don't ask things that should not occur in a public meeting. So we just want to get the process down. I just wanted to put everybody in line with where we are and what our process has been so far. So I do want to say that it is expedited, but it is still a work in progress. And I want to say that at this point, we have said that it looks like it will possibly be May before we would even bring anything to the table. So I just want to give everybody an idea of where we are and what has been done thus far. So that is all I have.
Thank you. Treasurer Miller.
Thank you. I just want to let everyone know that the audit will begin next Monday, April 15th. We will use the same auditing firm that we had last year. And our interim finance helper has been very accommodating to us, as well as internally myself, Stephanie McQueen, and Monica Kalupa we've been more involved than we ever have. In the past several years, we were not involved much at all in the audit. So I'm very appreciative that we are coming together and working on this as a team, and we know what we need to get done, what we need to bring forward, and the results that we're looking at already have been promising. So thank you.
Good, thank you. I really don't have anything. I know that we had some tours today from one of the state representatives of the building today and group, and I think that went very well. Our police chief was out here. I know he was part of that. So I think that went well. We enjoy having that, and maybe someday we'll see some changes that we can get for our stations and for our township hall, which would be great, as we definitely need the room. I'm going to answer Dave Combs' question about the road thing, and kind of when he talked about that, when he talked about $10 million and thought maybe $30 million in a few years because of the cost of everything going up. One of the things that the county roads does is they get money from the state of Michigan. The money they get from the state of Michigan is from the gas tax and other things, and that's what helps pay for the roads. So whatever our roads are this year, we're paying $350,000 to do an upkeep of the roads with chip seal, fog seal, and repairing some of the roads by just repaving them. They match that, so whatever we get, if it's $350,000, the road commission matches that, so that's $700,000 that we have. And that's how we work that, because that comes out of the power funds. If we don't use it, then we lose it, and another municipality will pick that money up. And we have picked up money from other municipalities over the years where they just didn't have money in the coffer to use it. So that's what I'm concerned about. We need to see where we're at, start to see where build a process for down the road what we're going to do with the roads. So that's all I have, and I'll move it over for the attorney's report.
Yeah, our floodplain draft ordinance has been approved by the state, and the CABA attorney, I had a conversation with him, and he understands that CABA also needs to sign our resolution. That did not make your board agenda today, so we're going to have to put it on the next board meeting as soon as possible. The state is fired up to get this done, but they really have until July 31st.
Thank you. Okay, the next thing is public comment. We have 3 minutes. Please come to the podium, give your name and where you live. We're glad to listen to you.
Hi again. David Combs, 2316 Brook Drive. I wanted to extend appreciation to a couple of folks on different issues that I heard this evening. First of all, thank you, Trustee Robinson, for the update and for the in-depth update about the hiring process for the superintendent. I know it wasn't on the agenda, and there didn't need to be anything in this meeting, but I think most of us here probably really appreciate hearing that and hearing what's going on, and additionally, hearing in that level of detail the thought process that you and the PAC committee are going through says to me, not only are you doing this as expediently and also as sort of fully as possible in terms of process, but you also heard what a lot of us, myself included, had to say over the past few weeks and months about this process. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. We look forward to seeing where the process goes. I also wanted to say, unrelated, thank you, Clerk Mackey, for the heads up about the moths. Hannah and I are looking at putting a Japanese maple in our yard right now, so we'll look into that. We don't want to create any problems that we don't have already. And then finally, I want to extend appreciation, as you did, Clerk Mackey, to Chief Ergang for providing such a comprehensive report. I was, when I moved to the township and started reading through things we have on the books already, particularly excited to read that we have a purchasing policy that encourages and requires examination, at least, of electrification whenever possible when we're purchasing vehicles. And I appreciated not only seeing reasons why that's not the best decision right now, but also a specific list of what the police department would need in order to be able to actually sort of live into that, what I think is our shared aspirational goal of being able to purchase vehicles that are electrified down the road. I also am noting that those are similar needs that we have heard from the fire department as well, relatively recently when they went through a similar process of seeking approval to purchase an additional vehicle. And I just want to encourage you all, it came up a second ago that there are conversations happening about our buildings, fire departments, also this building itself, and there's an opportunity to make sure that the township is supporting all of our entities, the police department, the fire department, through especially infrastructure at the top of the chief's list, to make sure that as we revitalize our infrastructure and our buildings, that they have what they need to be able to not just examine that purchase policy, which is required, but actually, begin to consider real options, hopefully alongside new electrified vehicle options becoming more reliable, as the chief also noted. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else, please? Anybody on Zoom?
This is your second chance to participate on open session, open comment. If anybody wants to speak, please unmute.
Thank you. With that being said, we are adjourned at 8:02. Thank you.